Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Helicon West. This is my first time hosting since we have this fancy new statement, so I'll try and get through it as easily as I can. My name is Tim Keller. I'm your host this evening. Helicon West is a live, uncensored reading series. We regularly host published authors alongside community writers to promote and support all levels of skill, ability, and craft. If you would like to read during the open mic, you can sign up on the sheet near the coffee service. If you would like to donate to keep Helicon West going, there's a tip jar. And there is on the coffee table with a QR code. We acknowledge that Helicon West operates on the territory of the Northwestern Band of the Shoshone Nation. Our events are made possible with support from Sugar House Review, the Logan Library, USU English Department, and community volunteers. And I'm going to go off script here for a second. So we like to thank Joseph and our library partners. He does a lot of work for us. We'd love to thank Star, without whom we wouldn't even have a Helicon West. Very much awesome. Now we're going to introduce the featured reader. Hello. and also Chad. Each reader will have up to 7 minutes to read. After the featured readers, the open mic portion, each reader will have up to 7 minutes to read. After 7 minutes, we will politely, or perhaps not so much, clap you off. It hasn't happened in years, but it does happen. So there you go. We'll announce the open mic readers 3 at a time, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I think we're good. Okay, so I asked Chad, who's going to be our first reader tonight, Chad VanZanten, if he wanted me to say anything bio-wise or whatnot. And he said, just make it up as we go along. Thankfully, I don't have to. Introducing Chad to this crowd's like introducing Elvis. We all know him. Yeah. He's amazing. He's talented. He has inspired me to write a bunch of different kinds of stuff by myself. He's a great performer. He's a great writer. He has great books in the back for sale. We're going to bring him up right now. Chad VanZanten.
Yeah.
Hey everybody, I'm not Elvis. Unless maybe Costello. Yeah. Thank you, Tim, for that very, very nice introduction. Thank you, Star, for the invite, and thank you each and every. It's good to see some people out on a gloomy February. I told Respect we will have 8 people. We will have me. We'll have Amanda, we'll have Star, Tim, Joseph, maybe Brock and Shannon, and then one other stray. Yeah, so it's good to see a few people. So I'm going to jump right in. And thank you, Joseph, for all the logistics. Really appreciate it. This is an older. I'm going to read a fly fishing essay, and it's February themed, and it's romantically themed, if you can believe that. So. That's, as promised, have a little romance, a little February stuff. There will be no refunds. And I wrote this a really long time ago, and it's ostensibly, it's supposed to be funny. It's ostensibly a breakup letter between me and the month of February, or my fishing schedule, my fishing habits, and the month of February. Because I like to fish throughout the winter. That's how I met Russ Beck, fishing in the winter. And November offers a lot of fishing opportunities that are not available at other times of the year. December is very beautiful. It's still kind of green outside, and it's blankets of snow come in it. January gets colder and kind of a little bit more miserable, but nobody's out there, so you might be able to get the whole river to yourself. But February is different. Nobody says, "Hey, let's go up the canyon and see the February colors." It's very gloomy. It's like this. And the fish are kind of miserable, and it's hard to catch fish. And so I decided at a certain point that I didn't want to fish in February anymore, and I commemorated it with this essay. But there's a little bit more of a serious element in here, and that is that I wanted to do something that I saw other people whom I admire doing, and that is to make sort of personal, anecdotal observations about climate change. Because outdoor enthusiasts, people who hike and bike and climb and fish, go to the same places outside every year at the same time of the year. And it's kind of, when you do that, it's easier to see things changing. And when you see very long-standing climatic and ecological patterns changing on a rapid time frame, it's kind of alarming. Because as humans, we depend on patterns to make predictions and to make plans and to feel secure. And when those change, you notice, and the observation that I wanted to make was that I've been here since I was in high school, so I've been here for many, many, many Februaries. And it used to be, January was stormy and kind of very, very frigid. But then when February would come, weather would just stop. It was like there was no weather. Everything was still. All of February might just consist of like 3 or 4 temperature inversions where there was no snow, there was no wind. The sky was kind of clear, but hazy, and it was the cruddy air. And yeah, 10 or 12 years ago, I noticed that in a matter of 4 years or 5 years, February just kind of vanished. It just went away, and we have this, which is March. This is March. Rain, fluctuating temperatures, up and down temperatures, wind, a lot of bluster, and it's not good. It's not good for our watershed, for our area. Fish and deer and all kinds of animals and plants are keyed to those climatic patterns, and we are too. We want our snowpack to stay in the mountains for as long as possible, stay frozen up there, and then in spring melt, and then we can take advantage of the irrigation water. So climate change is so immense, so huge of a subject. I have a problem getting my arms around it. Like, how could this have happened? And is it really happening? Did we cause it? Can we do anything about it? And if you're on the fence that way, and you're an outdoor person, just watch, just look, and I think you might do an okay job of making up your mind, because it is, and people say the same thing about summer. In the summer it used to be this, and the grass is turning browner sooner, and all kinds of things. It's happening out there, and it helped me if you have any doubts, just take a look around. So this is supposed to be funny. It's supposed to be kind of funny. And it's just a quick essay. Probably took me longer to set it up than it will to read it, but it's called Dear February. Dear February, it's time to be honest. I don't love you. I never did. It's not because you're cold. December is cold, but she and I get along just fine. January is even colder and moody, but she and I get along great. Your cold is different. Your cold feels intentional, spiteful. Maybe it's the way you mope around in that ratty gray bathrobe of leftover snow, which we used to have, but we don't have now. Or how you paint the sky with colorless gloom, transforming each week into one vast overcast Tuesday. We don't have much in common. I'm interested in fly fishing. You're into dead presidents and clairvoyant rodents. Your effect on freestone streams is a huge turnoff. By the time you show up, the easy fishing of autumn is a memory, and even the brown trout spawn has been over for 8 weeks. The Blacksmith Fork salmon fly hatches out there somewhere, but it's keeping its distance, like my buddy who avoids me because he says my girlfriend is crazy. I'm aware of your backwater midge hatches on the lower Logan, and yeah, I see those little black snowflies throughout the watershed. You might even warm up one day and show me some mayflies in Black Canyon. That's nice, but don't let's kid ourselves. The next day you'll be bitter again, which makes things worse. Even when you're nice, you're mean. Last year I caught 2 fish during your entire stay. That's all, 2 brown trout on the Logan River. The first was dozing at the bottom of a deep scour in a bend. I saw him down there, miserable in the crystalline base flow, barely twitching. He bit the size 12 survey ere I sank down to him, but not until I'd moved the strike indicator all the way up the tippet, then halfway up the leader, and finally onto the fly line, and then practically plonked him on the snout with the fly. The second brown ate a microscopic zebra midge with no strike indicator and a slow backwater, but the take was so timid and ambivalent that the hook only just snagged the translucent scrim of skin on the outside of his upper lip. At any other time of the year, that fish would have shaken the hook, but the water was probably 39 degrees and the little brown fought like a tranquilized kitten. This year's been a little better. I caught a few decent whitefish that chased down a dead drifted woolly bugger. I appreciated that. But even when you get me into a double-digit count, I go home with aching fingers and nostrils frozen. You treat the trout bad. They're half-starved, listless, heads inclining to the stream bed as though praying for March. They're as sick of you as I am. A fishing pal of mine slipped on the ice and hurt his back not long after you got here. And he missed fishing this past weekend. Not that there was much to miss, a few foot-long browns at Twin Bridges, a 10-inch cutthroat or 2. As I scrabbled up and down the long, steep banks, perilously half snow, half mudslide, I pictured my laid-up buddy at his tying vise, warm pink fingers working a bobbin at a relaxed pace, or just reading a book. His wife passes by and sets down something hot for him to sip. She pats his shoulder, glad to have him in the house on a Saturday. I actually envy his excuse to stay in. That's how bad it's gotten. But you whine, "You never take me anywhere." I know you won't put out, but the phrase, "you never know," gets murmured a lot just before fishing in February. So I go, and you're as icy as ever. You have your good days, yes, I get President's Day off, but what's there to do? Go fishing? And Groundhog Day is so dull it makes Arbor Day look like Halloween in Tijuana. I suppose you catch the occasional Mardi Gras, but Lent starts the very next day, which actually suits you better. No surprise that your big moment is Valentine's Day, that most fraught and imperious annual observance when we gentlemen anglers can't fish at all, but must lay aside our fly rods to tremble through lace-trimmed rituals, pen clumsy penances in saccharine greeting cards, and purchase heart-shaped boxes of chocolate indulgences. I'm aware that this might not be your fault. You're a neglected, underappreciated month, relegated to the ass end of winter, with a name that's seldom even pronounced correctly. Centuries ago, someone built you out of 2 whole days to compensate for the solar system's disregard for our 365-day Gregorian calendar. I half suspect it was a scheme hatched by anglers to transfer 2 perfectly good fishing days to a better, warmer month. So it's no wonder you're frigid. More and more often, you bring rain to the west and here to the Bear River. 20 years ago, your grip was positively Arctic, and you weren't such a crybaby. Your precipitation was often just swarms of ice crystals that did not so much fall, but instead hung in the motionless air, landing on the skin like the touch of a needle's tip. But now climate change has overtaken you like menopause, and you cry maudlin tears at the drop of a hat. This watershed needs rain, but it's a matter of timing, Feb. Rain in late March and April is welcome. Rain in the middle of winter, which melts snowpack and swells the streams, can be catastrophic, not only to humans with homes in a floodplain, but to fish whose migration and spawning are key to a more predictable hydrograph. So it's not like I don't see your side of things. I do. You know how bad I feel when leap year throws off your womanish 28-day cycle, and I always correct those who misspell your name. But you can see my side too. One day last winter, while you were hanging around, I scared up a solitary trout from under a pile of driftwood stacked in a bend at DeWitt Springs. The poor creature fled about 3 feet and then stopped, cold, as if to say, "On second thought, just kill me. It'll save me from another 2 weeks of February." So I'm sorry, but I'm through fishing with you. You can say you never know only so many times before you realize you actually do. Time to face it. You may be the shortest month, but baby, you're the longest. And now to introduce my friend Tim. He and I have been riding together for a long time. I'm happy that he says that I have inspired him to write. He has done the same for me. And Tim is a special character in the Valley. He is the president of the Cash chapter of the League of Utah Writers, which will hopefully be meeting in the library. I don't know. They meet in alleyways and back streets and in cars and stuff right now. But he has been the president of that organization since, and he was also president of the statewide organization a while back. But he's been president of that organization since 2009, and he has missed, to my knowledge, he has missed meetings. They meet twice a month. He has missed meetings, to my knowledge, 3 times. Once when his father died, once when his mother died, and then I think he was sick or something.
We had to cancel for snow.
We had to cancel for snow. Since 2009, it's 2024, and he's been leading that organization, uninterrupted since then. Has inspired scores of people, helped scores of writers, helped scores of people get published, win contests, to improve their writing, and just have a good group to connect with. It's kind of like Helicon, but it's like a review group and stuff, and it's just he's done a great job with it. He writes fiction, he writes funny fiction, he writes funny nonfiction, and he has a book on his hard drive. If you happen to make a remark to him, just encourage him to let's get that book off the hard drive, access it paper or at least on a Kindle. But yeah, you know him, you love him, you can't get enough of him.
Thank you, Chad. Before I begin this, now I got my glasses on, I can't even see where she's at. I have to thank Ashley for her flyer. It was an awesome flyer, but more than that, I have to thank her for it because I opened it up and discovered that I'm not reading next week at this time, I'm reading this week at this time. And I mentioned this to Chad, who said, really, the 8th? So this could have been an entirely different event had it not been for Ashley. This is matching baggage. It's a little longer than Chad's, but hey, Chad will be back, so we're in good shape. So. We don't really get a say in where we come from, whether by destiny or twist of fate, the decision is made for us. Some people get Taos or Tahoe, while others get Malibu, San Francisco, or Key West. Me, I got the hittermost corner of Idaho. Could have been worse, I suppose. My parents are from places Google Earth couldn't find with all the satellites in orbit. Places with deserted streets, rotting bandstands, and very little hope. Dad grew up in the ranching community of Mink Creek, so named for a creek, and the small fur-bearing animal that once prowled its banks. Some imagination those pioneers had. Mom cut her teeth in the ever so much more cosmopolitan Dust Bowl of winter before moving here. Oh, it's a decent enough place, I see that now, but there was a time when I couldn't wait to get out. I didn't care what I had to do. Hell, I didn't care if I starved, and I very nearly did. My determination paid off, though. By 28, I clawed my way into management at MHI, which my best friend Patrick decided was cause for celebratory drinks at Taffy's. A leatherman's mask covered in his metal spikes sat illuminated above the entrance, below which hung the infamous sign. This establishment is gay-owned and operated. If sexual expressions between men offends you, stay the fuck out. Patrick cringed. I hate that sign, he said, so crass. The bar is called Tackies, I responded. I'm fairly certain crass is the idea. We elbowed our way to the bar. Cuban Sunrise, I said. The bartender rolled his eyes. Make it 2, sweetie, Patrick chimed in and hold the attitude. A tall, square-jawed frat boy fairly bounced up to us. 3, he called. On me, and that's my cue, Patrick said, already melting in the crowd. You kids have fun. Let's get a picture, the boy said. I gulped the last of the Sunrise and reached for my wallet. Nope, he said, grabbing my hand. Your money's no good tonight. I'm Matthew, by the way. Tad, I managed before his tongue went into my mouth. This was followed by drink after drink and an amorous, albeit sloshy, cab ride back to my place. Did I mention this is live and uncensored? This is live and uncensored. I just thought I'd let you know. The next thing I remembered was the klaxon of my phone at the obnoxious hour of 9:07 on a Saturday. Hello, I rasped, watching a very nicely set of newly familiar glutes pack a ripped pair of Calvins. Dad, you sound awful. Are you coming down with something? Hi, Mom, I said as my new friend waved goodbye. I barely noticed another week had gone by until the call. I rarely called home. Not that I disliked my family or anything, it's just the calls from home reminded me of, well, home and the person I used to be. Plus, when I called, I couldn't get off the phone, but Mom is from a time when making a long-distance phone call was something to be considered with great care, like the purchase of furniture or a car. Once made, the call would follow a model of efficiency, say only what you must, prod them to do the same, hang up as quickly as possible, then pour over every scrap of information like a cryptographer. We were only 2 minutes in, but already the call felt long. I was sort of itching to end the thing, but Mom showed none of the usual signs of ramping up. She delivered the news with a deceptively casual air, right after the weather and speculation on the reproductive status of the family cat. Cancer, she whispered. Grandma has cancer. Followed by words like inoperable, and time frames generally reserved for perishable foods. It spread to her liver. She decided not to fight it. What? I said, why the hell not? She wants to enjoy what time she has, Mom soothed, to stay in her home, to have her family around her. It won't be long before she'll need help for everything. I saw where this was going. Of course I did. A simple glance at the clock confirmed my suspicions, and Mom, now well into her 7th minute, showed none of the usual signs of slowing down. Of course, she said, the family will have to step up, but Cal and Bruce have families, and Mel lives in Salt Lake, and Shauna will do what she can, but between the school and the kids and so on with the various excuses for my siblings, my heterosexual siblings. whose lives were too important to interrupt. All of a sudden, it's great that I'm gay, I thought. Only took you 12 years. The hiss of a long-distance static snapped me back to reality. 9 minutes and counting. 9 minutes, and there was static, honest-to-God silence on a still open line. My grandma, my buddy, my cross-country training partner, cheering section, she can't be sick, not really. I was only just catching up to the conversation when the question came. Can you come? My mind flashed back 10 years to the last time I saw my grandmother. I was loading up the pickup when she called. Mom took the message. Grandma wants you to stop by on your way out. Great, I muttered, another last-minute pep talk. Grandma waits in the enclosed porch when I arrive and ushers me inside for a quick snack. Her house smells like fresh baked bread. My mouth waters as she disappears into the kitchen. She returns with a butter and sugar slathered slice and settles into her recliner while I eat. All set, she says? Yes, ma'am. You'll call? I nod, surreptitiously checking my watch. We have schools around here, you know. Grandma, I know, you have to be out in the world, always did, even when you were little. Always exploring, trying new things. I try to cut this short. I love you, Grandma, I say, but of course it doesn't work. I love you too, dear. Now sit. Or are you in too big a hurry for your old grandmother? I sigh and park on her giant pink sofa. 12 minutes or all day. I'm here till she's done. And I love these chats, always did, even when I was a kid. Today I answered politely and not in all the right places, but I'm fidgety. Before long, she pushes out of her recliner with a grimace. Age is finally catching up to her. I banish the thought before it can be true. All right, she says. Since you're in such an all-fired hurry, I have something for you. She hands me a small box wrapped in white ribbon and that shiny lavender wrapping paper, the stuff that people use when there's no real theme that works. Open it. I slide my finger carefully along the taped seams. It wouldn't do to appear rushed. As the paper unfolds, a shirtless Adonis and the word Trojan and pleasure pack appear. I hope you find what you're looking for, she said. Be careful you don't catch AIDS. Tears fill my eyes and suddenly I'm flying into her arms. I wanted to come out to her years ago, but Mom and Dad warned her it would break her heart. How'd you know? I whisper. Grandma actually cackles. You have to get up pretty early in the morning to fool this old girl. They're the ribbed kind. Supposed to feel better. I didn't have the heart to tell her. They're the sexual equivalent of a rumble strip. I should have trusted her. Hell, I should have told her first. I looked around my Los Olas Boulevard apartment, the loft, at the evidence of a life I built, tastefully erotic art on the walls, custom kitchen, Bang & Olufsen home theater, and found myself wondering two things. How much would all of this fetch at the yard sale? And what the hell was I going to do in Idaho? The one thing I swore I'd never do, I thought, as I drove the length and breadth of the United States once more, north along the Atlantic, then west, through the deeply oppressive heat of the Bible Belt, north again, and west, across the sun-baked grasslands of Oklahoma and Kansas. Finally, on the far side of the desert of Wyoming, I reached the home stretch. Around Bear Lake, through a mountain pass, and voila, 3 days, 2,537 miles from civilization, I rolled into my hometown. 9 o'clock and the place is already deserted. I thought about my home. The city was just now be coming to life. Happy hour at the Marlin, Go-Go Boys at Tacky's, maybe a show at Shangri-La. Still, the lure of the past was stronger than I'd anticipated. Trials and pains at once all-consuming barely seemed to register. Victories, even the smallest, called like a siren song, and I couldn't resist a bit of exploration, for old time's sake. We had a subway now. Can additional perks of civilization be far behind a McDonald's, perhaps? A Walmart? I drove by Hillbilly High, a stifling industrial edifice, once the bane of my existence. I was shocked as I came to a stop in front of the place. It was as if the whole thing had shrunk. Just a building, brick, mortar, crumbling, a dead or dying reminder of a boy, insecure, the one who ran away. It was hard to believe I'd ever roamed the halls of this place. Harder to believe still that I was back. The clock on my radio read 9:47. The folks would be worried. I put the car in gear and drove toward my childhood home. Goodbye brunch, mimosas by the pool. Goodbye theater and art and Christmas on the beach. Job where my name was preceded by the word Mr. Hello, home. A mere two-hour drive from the nearest city and at least a dozen light years from the 21st century. Home of rodeos and Christmas lights and geekdom's favorite son. Mom greeted me at the door like the prodigal son returned, not bad for folks whose sleeping habits follow the sun. Dad, on the other hand, took one look at my little red GT and sniffed, "Where's your truck?" Well, I didn't really need one in Florida. He grunted. "Can't haul much with that thing." No, I suppose not. It was summer on the ranch, so when I wasn't helping with Grandma, I was hauling hay, moving sprinkler pipes, or chasing cows. I found the ease with which I'd settled back into rural life distressing. Even more so, the realization that time had now become my enemy. It always was, of course, but now it had teeth. Grandma's illness and the fact that my parents had somehow gotten old served to remind me of my own mortality. Alone and bored, I was keenly aware of the seconds ticking irrevocably by. People constantly approached me to chat under the guise of friendship, of course, sandwiched between platitudes. These sympathetic interrogators angled for even the tiniest bit of gossip before closing, "If there's anything we can do," like they were really interested in yard work or bedpans or morphine drips. I reminded myself soon that soon I would be gone, and then reeled with the guilt of wanting to be. Simple errands like a trip to the store became an exercise in reconnaissance. Get the stuff, avoid all contact, and return. One day at the pharmacy, my flesh tingled at the sound of the all too familiar voice. There he was, Tony Blakely. His head, anyway, floating among the neck-high shelves of laxatives, NSAIDs, and prophylactics, like the ghost of Drana's past. I should have said hello, if only to be polite, but our time together was over. Except there he was, and here I was again, which spurred me to evasive action. I heard his call in the distance as my car door closed, not as clean as I'd have liked, but the mission accomplished. He disappeared into the storm like a phantom. Grandma, meanwhile, as she'd done her whole life, took pride in beating her doctor's dire predictions, slipping, yes, and noticeably, almost by the day. But spry, she reveled in visits from friends and family not seen in years. Determined to leave this world on her terms, she took to leaving posted instructions around the house, recording the family history and secret recipes for posterity, and the mere admiring of any object, regardless of size or value, was all it took to turn her into a geriatric reign hostess. Only she noticed my malaise. "You should call an old friend," she suggested. I shrugged. "Maybe. Tammy asked after you at church." Grandma had served in the Mormon church's primary school for decades, and anyone she taught, regardless of age or disposition, would forever have the childhood Y attached to their name. Timmy, Johnny, Taddy, the aforementioned Tammy, Tamara, formerly Jameson, now Blakely, married to the likewise aforementioned Tony. Tamara had since morphed from childhood innocence into one of the nastiest people it had ever been my displeasure to know. She endured a brief stint as a small-time beauty queen, which celebrity, however limited, earned her a pass from those most who didn't know her. "Not my friend, Grandma," I said. Pursed lips. "Well, Anthony certainly is, and he said you should drop by for a visit." Suddenly I was 15, all over again, and before I could catch myself, the words said, "Tony said that?" Betrayed my worldly cool. Grandma smiled. "He was with Tammy when she asked. You should drop." "Oh my goodness, is it Friday already? You better get going." A trap. "Nah," I said. "I'd rather hang with you." "Oh, I forgot to say, Linda's coming by to do some quilting tonight. My memory's getting so bad." "Nothing wrong with your memory, Grandma." "It must be the cancer," she said, managing a cough or two for effect. "Liver cancer, Grandma, not lung." "There, you see? Now go see your friend," she said. "I'm sorry, I have to have a drink." It was late in the day, the sunset scorching the manicured lawn and flower garden which circled the house, and a intrepid big-wheel pilot skidded to sidelong stop as I walked up the drive. A head popped from the shadow of the garage. "Who's there?" "Hello, Tamara," I said. "Tad, Tony said you were in town. How you been? We missed you at the last reunion," she continued. "How's your grandma? I seen her at church, but you know how she is. Wouldn't bother the fire department if her porch went up in flames. Tony, look who came to see us." My participation in the conversation hardly seemed necessary, and at that moment the young big-wheeler broke for the open road, and I laughed as Tamara took off in hot pursuit, yelling, "Ethan Anthony Blakely, you get your butt back here!" "Tad Benson, back again," Tony drawled from the door. He looked exactly the same. Okay, well, not exactly. He looked better. The jawline was stronger, the cheeks more defined. He'd put on a few pounds, but his stomach was flat, and that reckless shock of hair still stubborn. The body between the white shorts and the dopey Def Leppard t-shirt had solidified into something worthy of being showcased in marble. "So are you just here to help with your grandma or thinking of staying on?" Dude, say something. Yeah, my chest so tight I could barely speak. He pulled me through the entry into the kitchen and didn't let me go until he'd sat me down to the table. I couldn't believe how good the years had been to him. They certainly hadn't done Tamara any favors. The mother had seemed to have mollified her personality deficiency. 12 years and you look exactly like the last time I saw you, Tony said. I glanced down at his wedding band, wondering if he was really thinking the last time we were together. You too, I mumbled. He laughed. Liar. Only thing missing is a skateboard, I said. I don't do much sporting anymore. That's too bad. Excuse me, the skateboard, I said. It's too bad you don't ride anymore. Want a Coke? He asked again from the table. He didn't wait for a response. He just glanced surreptitiously around the corner and retrieved 2 cans from the fridge. Actually, he half whispered as he passed me the drink and sat. I do sometimes. Don't tell Tamara. I had to laugh. Not so bad as secrets go. Tony smiled. So what about you? Tell me your secrets, son. I said, no secrets here. You know that. Undauntedly dove into old times. Hey, remember that old trailer down by the hollow? Dude, best porn stash ever. Ever? I asked. You have at least heard of the internet, right? And the time we took that magazine to Scout Camp, Tony continued. Mixo was so pissed he made us watch while he burned. Didn't stop him from giving each page a long, creepy look, I said. Hey, remember the centerfold? Not really, no. For real? You've got to remember. His eyes wide with excitement, his hands forming cups. What are you kidding me with this shit? It wasn't the centerfold I was looking at. Tony grinned. Me either, and his foot was in my crotch. Are you out of your fucking mind? Language, guys, Tamara said, stepping in from the yard. We have kids in this house. Yeah, Daddy Joe. Watch your language. Sorry, I said to her back as she bustled through the living room. I couldn't remember the last time I had to watch my language. A young girl ran through the kitchen to the living room calling, Daddy, can I watch TV? He kneaded me with impossibly dexterous toes. Sure, sweetie. It was all I could do to breathe normally. Geez, Tony, hissed your kid. Daddy's funny, huh, sweet pea? Uh-huh, she said absently. It's Aladdin. Nothing's gonna extract her from Aladdin. I'm off to book club, Tamara announced, coming back to the kitchen. The kids have a play date at the Petersons at 7. Connie said you can send them over any time. The boys are outside. Just drop them off on your way, will you? I was like, Tony, I'm late. Please, Tony said and pulled the face. That stupid lopsided grin that had been getting him out of trouble since we were kids. And of course, Tamara melted, just like I used to. Everyone gets their share of socially awkward moments in life, but I dare say that having held a poker face for an old acquaintance while getting a foot job under the table from her husband in the semi-attended presence of their kid, not to mention the doing of it in a calm and affable manner, has earned me a free ride in the next life, regardless of what else happens in this one. Even so, the moment our car left the garage, I brushed his foot away and got up to leave. What? You cut me off like I never existed and pulled this shit. I am so out of here. That was 12 years ago. Well, yeah, well, we'll see you in another 12. Maybe by then you'll look like you were right, he said quietly. What? Right about what? About a lot of things. I forced myself to calm. I'd gotten out. I could do it again. His was a life sentence. Look, I said, I just want to make sure the lines don't get crossed here. They've been crossed before, he said. Yeah, we were what, 16? You were married! 17, and I was beginning to think we'd forgotten. Oh, I remember everything. Tony grinned mischievously. So that line you mentioned, what if we crossed it? What if I were to touch you? His hand headed south as his lips brushed mine. Jesus, tell me you don't want to. So what if I do? Tony shrugged. Whatever you want. Really? What about your kids and your wife? They mean anything to you? They mean everything to me. So where does that leave us? Does you mean everything too? My eyes began to well. I shook my head. You should have come with me. I begged you to come. So that's it then. One mistake and I'm done? I didn't say that. Dude, I'm dying here. When I saw you were back, I thought we were good together, right? I just thought maybe if we were careful. His voice faded off. Everything around me melted away. The crappy JCPenney kitchen, the clapboard house, the whole hideous little town. On a cold November day, the week before Thanksgiving, grandmother died. The sun rose at all. It seemed incredibly unjust. Tony stayed close to the service, the dedication of the grave, post-funeral dinner. We were cleaning up and his hand slipped into mine and pulled me close, nuzzling my ear. I melted into his embrace. It felt like that time I made it home. I should go, he whispered. Andy and the kids will be worried. You gonna be okay? And I said, Vegas next week? I smiled. Like Grandma said, we all have baggage. The trick is getting it to match.
Yeah.
thanks for bearing with me through all that. That was a long damn story. Now we get chat. So, chat is fun.
Good job, Tim. Okay, so this is short fiction, or maybe a little less outre, fishy essays and foot jobs. And I kind of think of this as a Helicon story, because when I first started coming to Helicon a long time ago, and in fact, to clue you in as to how long it was, I found out about Helicon from a little announcement, a little postage stamp size announcement in a paper copy of the newspaper. You know, back when we had newspapers in the house, you come home and you like pick up this piece of paper and try to figure out what's going on in the world. And I didn't know what exactly, it was vague. I don't know who wrote it, but it was really vague. It was just like, Helicon West, come to this thing. It has to do with reading and writing and poetry and stuff. And at the time I was trying to get serious about my writing and see if I could have some success. And I thought, I don't know what this is, but I think it might help. So I started coming and quickly found out, as probably many of you already know, that Helicon West is like this very unique instrument, measuring instrument. You bring your work and you put it in one side, and then the data comes out on the other side. And it's not the kind of data that you get from like a writing group. It's kind of a little more esoteric or a little more woo-woo. You kind of have to interpret it, you have to parse it, but it's very pure if you can do that, if you can kind of distill it down. Because when you have a crowd of 20 or 30 people, and they don't give a shit about you, you're completely dispassionate, and you start reading your writing to them, you begin to hear your words the way that they are hearing it, and that is just invaluable. You can't get that oftentimes from your peers or your writing group. Helicon West to me is unintentionally honest, you know, because I mean, laughter, silences, pauses, eye contact, all that stuff will let you know how you're doing. And so I had a little stockpile of writing that I was bringing to Helicon, and you know, I would read it and then look, okay, all right, that was pretty good. I'll read another one, no, it's not working. But really soon, 6 or 8 months later, I was out of writing. And so a funny thing happened. Tim and myself, and maybe you do this too, we started writing for Helicon. So Helicon is now not just the instrument, it's measuring your productivity, it's inspiring, it's triggering your productivity, which was, again, just so valuable, because I was submitting to journals, I was submitting to editors and agents and stuff, but there was nothing in my life at the time that was as inspiring, or as maybe like it was prodding, you know, it was goading me into writing stuff as Helicon West was. It was like the most, you know, inspiring thing. And this is one of those stories that I wrote for, you know, for a Thursday night. You know, Wednesday night would come around and you'd be, oh shit, I gotta have something to bring to Helicon. Or if you're Tim, you would tell Thursday afternoon, oh shit, I gotta bring something to Helicon. And we, you know, this was a little, I just wrote up a little nugget of something, and then it kind of, after that, it sort of grew into a, you know, what I consider a fully fleshed out short story. And it's in that book back there with my lovely Amanda, if you're interested, along with other Helicon stories. These are all my Helicon stories. And it's short fiction. It's called Waiting for Donna. Donna's waiting for me on the porch when I pull up. She gets in the car but doesn't say hi. She just sits there. So I sit there. We sit there in the driveway of our house. I really should pull down that jungle gym. It looks like hell. The paint's all flaked off the wood, and any kid who goes near it is going to get a handful of splinters. It's been 10 years since Sarah or Taylor played on it. Thing is, I built it out of cedar timbers sunk in concrete about 4 feet into the ground. I'll need a steam shovel and dynamite to tear it out. The lawn looks okay, but weeds are coming up between the slabs of the driveway. Donna's got some neighbor kid mowing the lawn each week. Wouldn't let me do it. It's funny. She hasn't told anyone in our family that I've moved out, but she doesn't want the neighbors to think that I'm moving back in. Neighbor kid's not paying attention to the driveway or the walkway. Nobody's trimming the trees or shrubs either. The lilac tree looks like it's going to swallow the garage. No one's paying attention to the weeds. No one's paying attention but me. After a few seconds, Donna says, well, can we go? I say, no hi, no how are you? She lets out a big sigh. Hi, Larry, how are you? It's Thursday. Donna knows I've been golfing on Thursday. All these years she's been nagging me to get out and exercise. Now she needs a ride on the day I go golfing. I say, you know what today is, right? She says, I know perfectly well what today is. I ask her, so why today? Why not yesterday or tomorrow? She says, this was the only day they had open. I tell her, there's some weed spray in the garage by the lawnmower. Green bottle about yay big. If you hit those weeds on the driveway every couple of days, they'll quit coming up. Okay, can we go? No, I say. Larry, she sighs. Why? What now? You haven't told me where we're going. She finally looks over, but she's glaring at me. She looks out the windshield again and says, just head into town. I'll tell you where it's at. I tell her there's lots of ways to get into town. Is it downtown? Is it out by the interstate? If it's out by the interstate, I don't want to go downtown. I'll hit every light on the way through. She lets out another big sigh, like I'm the one who's difficult. Like I'm the one who wanted to separate. This isn't my fault, Donna. You want to separate? Fine. If you call me for a ride, at least be civil to me. At least give me decent driving directions. I don't really say that. Not out loud. It's downtown, she says. Where at downtown? Across from the Mexican restaurant with the umbrellas out front, she says, on Broad Street or Grove. Well, which one? Broad, I think. It's a long brick building, she says. You know, dark red brick. There's only two Mexican towns there's only two Mexican places downtown, Larry, and one of them's a Taco Bell. I say, okay, I know the place. It's not on Broad. I back out of the driveway. It's where the eye doctor used to be, I tell her. Where Taylor got his contacts. Before that, it was a vet clinic for a while. We took Mimi there when she was a puppy. Okay, she says, so I'm just saying, just say, go to the old vet clinic or the old eye doctor. In fact, when we first moved here, it was a DMV. That's all you had to say, the old DMV. You don't remember taking Mimi there to get her shots when she was little? Apparently she doesn't. We head downtown. But I can't put my arm on the middle thing between the seats. Donna doesn't tell me not to, but whenever I do, she moves her arm and leans away a little to make sure I don't touch her. So now I don't know what to do with my arm. All these years I've been driving around with my arm on the middle thing in between the seats. Now it's like I got an extra arm in the car with me and I don't know what to do with it. I ask her, what's the matter with your car? Technically, it's not her car. It's mine. They're both mine. Both cars are in my name. But I don't say that. Can you imagine if I did? Donna says, Sarah's got it. She took it to the lake with a friend. You let her take the Subaru out there, that road, the way she drives? Donna says, she's not a kid. That's my point. She needs to get out on her own, get her degree, get her own car. We hit every stoplight. The car stops and goes. I don't know where to put my arm. Donna just sits there. I ask her, what's this place we're going to? What is it this time? She says, I don't know. This was a big part of her problem. She never knew anything. She'd shut down, always depressed about something. I'd always say, Donna, tell me what's the matter. Tell me what I can do. And she would say, I don't know. But she knew. She says, I don't know what they call it. It's a lot of little medical offices. So, another therapist, I say, another shrink, psychologist. I look over at her. She's got her feet on the seat, knees up by her chin. That's how she sits when she gets this way, all balled up. Well, what's wrong this time? She glares at me, like I'm the one. Larry, she says, I don't know what's wrong. That's why I go. I pull up to the place. It's where we brought Taylor when he was 13, 14. Didn't want to wear glasses anymore. He was on the basketball team trying to get a girlfriend. I did the same thing when I was chasing girls. I'd shove my glasses in my pocket and squint all night. First time I went out with Donna, I didn't even know what she looked like. I asked her, you don't remember coming here with Taylor? He was so excited, he didn't have to wear those glasses anymore, remember? And he got acne? Donna says, I gotta go in. Can you wait here? I'll be about an hour. I can call someone if you can't. Well, if you can call someone else to take you home, why do you call them to pick you up in the first place and leave me out of it? I could have been golfing right now. I don't really say that. Yeah, I'll wait. She goes inside. I get out and lean on the car. It's nice out. Pretty soon I see Chris Hutchins walking past. He used to do my taxes. Must have moved his offices downtown. He says, hey, how's it going, Larry? I smile, wave, just waiting for my wife. It's not really what he asked, but he nods. I don't know if he knows about me and Don. I just wanted to say it that way. Makes it feel like all the other times I've waited for her, just like it's a normal day, running errands, waiting for Donna. You got offices down here now? I ask him. I ask him that because I know he'll start talking to me about doing my taxes again sometime, and then he'll be here when Donna comes back, so then he can tell people that he saw us driving around together. Donna finally comes back out. Chris says hi to her and then gives me his card and says he's got to go, but we should call him. We will. I tell him, we will. So long, Chris. It was a lot more than an hour, by the way. Not that I'm keeping track. She's got a bunch of papers with her. We get in the car, she reads her papers. You ever think that if you quit going to all these therapists and started talking to the actual people in your life, you might start feeling better? I really say this. At first, she just sits there. Doesn't even look up from her papers. I can tell she's not saying the things she wants to say. She opens her mouth and stops herself, and then her mouth shuts. Doesn't matter. I know what she was going to say, basically. But then she shakes her head a little, and now I can tell she's going to say the thing that she was going to say, but didn't. She looks up from her papers, takes a deep breath, and says, "There are things that I need to put behind me." That's the problem, I say. You only remember the things you want to, and the things you want to remember are the bad things. You never remember the good things. I hit every light on the way out of town. Donna looks back at her papers. I got my arm laying in my lap like it's busted. As I pull into the driveway, she says, "Can I call you next week if I need a ride?" "What about the Subaru? What about Sarah?" "Larry," she says, "I'm not saying I will call you. I'm saying, can I? You always ask me what you can do. This is something you can do. Can I call you?" "Sure," I say. "Of course you can. Just do me a favor and try not to pick the same day." Same day, she says, "How can I pick the same day? I'm talking about next week, not next year." I say, "What are you talking about?" She says, "What are you talking about?" I tell her, "I'm talking about Thursdays. I golf on Thursdays. You've been telling me to get out and exercise." "Well, I am, and I feel great, down 8 pounds. So, just pick a different day next week, that's all. What'd you think I meant?" She laughs. First she just chuckles, but then she really starts going. She got her forehead in her hand. She laughs and laughs. Not loud, but hard, and it shakes the car a little. Almost gets me laughing, like when someone else is laughing, you don't even know what it's about. But something tells me not to. Something tells me it's not a funny laugh, and I have no idea what she's about to say. So I say, "Mind telling me what's so funny?" "Larry," she says, "today's our anniversary." "Anniversary?" "Yeah," she says, "our wedding anniversary." "I'll be damned," I say. She says, "Yeah, I'll be damned." That's all I can think of to say. Thanks.
Does anybody else want to sign up with the sign-up sheet? Just let me know or raise your hand. I was still listening to Chad. I forgot to actually do this while we were doing it. Okay, the first 3 names for open mic are Brock Darthier, Amber, and Ronald.
All right.
Hi, 2 weeks ago I did a generative Helicon, and my last suggestion was that people try stealing somebody else's story and just make it their own and see what happens. And Chad is always an obedient citizen, and he immediately took to heart what I said and stole the first story that came his way, which happened to be mine. So I was playing up here with a story about 2 of my cousins who had sex in a tent. And Chad, in 10 minutes, wrote this wonderful little short story, which he then read to us. So I felt like I had to repay the compliment. Chad made the mistake of telling me one of the other things he'd been thinking about to write about in response to my prompt last time, so I stole that. So, in the following, I attempt to channel a certain indefatigable fly fisher and distinguished author of fishing tales. He shall remain unnamed, though his admirers will be quick to point out that his is the only American name with both a rhyme and a Z in it. I'm prepared to share my royalties from this poem if he asks. To fish, or an essay in prose stanzas. The angler's classic question was, tinfoil or fry pan? But now the ethereal wombat within me seeks to answer a question that lurks in the conscience of any sensate fisher person. Why do I keep torturing the slimy bastards anyway? We seldom eat them anymore, and when we do, we feel like bait casters who do their imitation of fishing for all the wrong reasons. When on a pack trip we'd pig out on a dozen brookies, we'd congratulate ourselves on not having to carry dinner and devise inebriated justifications for our behavior. Plenty of fish in there. We go barbless, so it's a fair fight. Just doing our part in the food chain. Back home, we'd write letters in defense of bogs and fens and participate in studies that revealed exactly what we expected. Our influence on the fishery was minimal. And Kurt Cobain sang, it's okay to eat fish because they don't have any feelings. But then the language of fishing grew ominous. Catch and release caught on, and the word overfishing began to haunt our trips, spoil our fish stories, make us feel guilty about those brookies. As the science piled up, we were pummeled by overexploitation, resource depletion, species collapse, eradication, extinction, total annihilation of all carbon-based life. So fishing became an endless cycle. Offer the fish a bauble. It bites with an unbridled stupidity that makes fish seem almost human. For a few seconds, your heart pounds as you brutalize the fish, first dragging it through the water in thrashing terror, then cursing its slippery hides that flip-flop for freedom. With clumsy irritation, you yank the hook out with a swatch of cheek, or tongue, or stomach, or in at least one case, eyeball. Then hurry to return it to water while it still has the strength to swim out of your sight. If it lives, being a fish, it goes for the next bauble, and the cycle continues. As a sometimes business person, I have to ask, who benefits here? Not the fish. It doesn't even have the chance to snatch the bacon breakfast that the bait casters provide. Not the grassy patch where we park, the mucky bank that sucks our boots, the stream bed where rocks roll below our waders, or the stream itself, now decorated by one more beer can. No, I would never throw a can in the river, but when your bag tips out into the current, the beer can might not be the first thing you grab. And the fisher person? No longer being a fisherman makes it all less special. It's not particularly manly, is it? Except for the parts about going off alone and drinking beer and belching and complaining about one thing or another, the bugs of the government or lack of fish or lack of sex. Why do so few women fish? Men always say they fish to get back to nature, to have some quiet time, to commune with their navels, and women need those things as much as men do. Maybe they don't have the time back home cleaning fish. What else keeps us at it? It's the thrill of the hunt, of the chase, of setting your fly down right where you want it, luring the fish to leap and snap. What is that thrill like? Not orgasm exactly. There's a hint of victory, of superiority, of ha, gotcha, now you're mine, motherfucker. How male does that sound? Maybe the thrill is an inherently male sensation. Like sex, the thrill operates in death's shadow. We rejoice in both because we aren't dead, and the shadow provides contrast. Our genes learned that thrill millennia ago, and not giving into it would be a repudiation of our humanity. Fish on, brother, but this time, no hooks. Thank you.
Well, that was a little too real. I don't know about that one. Yeah.
Hello, I'm Amber, and I have been diving into meter in poetry recently. And this is a poem called Procrastination, which I started yesterday and is due tonight at midnight. Alright. Once upon a midnight tired, while I toiled caffeine wired over many a rhyme and meter for this class discussion board. While the keyboard keys were clacking from my nails upon them tapping, words I wrote I found were lacking much, I wanted more. Something wild, something strange, which I could share with them for sure. Yet no insight furthermore. I, you see, could not write very well, for dark of February seeped into my bones and made me more lethargic than before. Anxiously I worked to finish, hoping that this poem would in it have at least some portions which my classmates thought were not a bore. This I hardly dare to hope for, from these peers of whom before words upon this page I poured. Now I sit and wonder whether this delicious Dr. Pepper was a drink I would have better left at that McDonald's door. For this drink, now as I lap it, has the nasty, ghastly habit, power, to render me a nervous, shaking thing of yore. Maybe now I should consider, though this cup, it would be bitter, drinking of it nevermore. Outside my bedroom window, I can hear the frigid wind blow, bringing with it voices, songs, and whispers never heard before. You see, I'm merely lying, for I'm simply dying for some details I can write, which interest would from crowds ashore. But alas, I live in Logan, and the only noisy token I can offer is the neighbors, those residing up one floor, making noise forevermore. Now you see, it's simply maddening. I can think of few more gladdening tidings I could hear than that they'd all moved out or died in war. I just simply cannot conquer footsteps shouting later, longer, stomping surely stronger than no girl has ever stomped before. Long I thought that boys must surely be the creatures on that floor. Only girls and nothing more. While my mind this puzzle turning, noticed I my throat now burning, all the soda with its churning, causing now a small uproar. Sweet and carbonated acid, breaking through the dark and tacit, turned persona I had crafted, pain I just could not ignore. Now relief I sought in every cabinet in our kitchen store, from this burning in my core. Wait, this reflux is a blessing. Now I need not keep on guessing what to make my subject for this poem that's now become a chore. With this burning bad sensation, I imagine immolation or some awful hellish station, fire lapping at the shore. Ire that defies all reason, some bereft unhalting demon, hatred here and spite galore. Presently the pain grew stronger, but I found that I no longer wished for its sensation, nay, I welcomed it, with arms unmoored. From this twisting, burning pain, I did not cry, no, nay, I sang a fierce and wretched song of pain, infernos, woe, and gore. Having woven now this fable, I decided I was able to retrieve from kitchen table tums which I could now engorge.
Hi, Ron.
Hey, Ron.
I fought the floor. The floor won. And I hurt my head, and I fell on it. Right away to land. You saw it bother you. The workplace floor. I was doing what I went there for. Just doing my job. Isn't that all right? Right at me, started a fight. And I fought the floor, and the floor won. And I hurt my hand, and I fell in it. Right away to land. Put a look on my VanZanten. I think of Alice, and to death do us part, it just won't do from my longing heart. For this life, only lasts so long. It's not long enough for the lights to run. We have a good thing, you and me, and I want it to last for eternity. I love you so. I'm glad you're mine. May it always be a Valentine.
Okay, before we shut this thing down, is there anybody that didn't get to sign up that wants to, suddenly been inspired? Any going once, going twice? Okay. Well, before I call it for Brock, that was awesome, by the way, and Amber, holy crap. There's just so much talent in this room. Anyway, the next readers are Saoirse B. and then Kendall Hutchinson.
Silly girl, oh what a silly girl, sillily singing, sillily leisuring, sillily sitting, sillily soliloquizing, oh silly me, sillily studying, sillily standing, sillily sleeping. We must maintain our sillies, or they will entropy into seriousies. We will seriously sink, seriously stalk, seriously stoop, seriously exclude ourselves from engaging with the good parts of the world. Keep a silly posture, Saoirse, seriously. Okay. Silly little rabbit in a yoga class. Silly little rabbit, you're not a downward dog. Focus on your breathing, silly little rabbit. Try to slow your rapid heart. What else can you do, ready to outrun hawks, but sitting in a room? The comma is shifting, a tadpole into a frog. Metamorphose the prose of my life. I am me, an independent clause. Okay. Wouldn't it be nice if our hands, hurt and bruised, sore and scraped, after days of abuse from climbing escapades, held each other? After jamming and cramming and crimping and pinching, we soothed and smoothed each other's skin, placed our attention into the splits and grooves, softened our palms with jade tree balm. I could rub your knuckles, you could tape my scrapes, then we'd climb again. We'd give, we'd take. Sorry, I'm like choosing which ones I want to read because there's a lot of them. Subdued devotion, quiet admiration, ebbs and flows in my chest. I want for nothing from you and expect less. But if you need help, just let me know. I will give as much as I can while keeping my hand secret. Amorphous masses are my antagonist. No one demands my performance, but I infer it. Okay. I'm in love with you, or maybe it's your smile. Yes, I'm in love with your smile, and your laugh as well. Maybe it's your voice. Yes, I love your voice. Maybe I'm not in love with you, but I'm in love with your eyes. And I suppose your face is nice as well. Yes, I admit you're beautiful. I'm in love with your beauty. But that is all so shallow. To love the image is not to love the object. Maybe instead I love your humor and your joy towards life. Yes, those are qualities worth love. I'm in love with qualities. Yes, I'm not so much in love with you as I am in love with your smile, laugh, voice, eyes, beauty, and personality, which I admit gives the slight impression of a fondness towards you, but beware the distinction. I am not in love with you, I am in love about you. I have una más. Okay. Sorry, it's down there. Okay. My dear paper cut, so unassuming and small. My dear paper cut, my unique pain experienced by all. My dear paper cut, won't you relent? My dear paper cut, unlikely to scar, but the pain is intense. Oh dear paper cut, when I am ready, my heart will fold again into origami.
Okay, I have two poems, and they are both on the theme of hope, but they're different colors. I thought today of hope, that most human of emotional states. Not that other beings cannot have this anticipation, this right now love for a future version of another. Only I am human, so to me it is supreme. Trillions of moments scattered like the sands underwater, forever covered by salty unknowns, happy or sad, healed or broken, sands of those who wait. Perhaps that is why so many of us place virtue upon patience, sands of those who wait. It takes time to dive so deep, to grasp a handful of the waiting, rise through grief or joy, to bask in the free-laid sun, only to be swept away in a breath. Countless and nameless are these moments, but we have phrases by which we call them. I'll see you later. I'm looking forward to it. Can't wait. I'll leave a light on. All an admission of patience cast to the breeze is an act of love and heartache. Our future trickles through the fingers of a restless God, burning and maiming our present mind until we leap from our seats in ecstasy and agony, dreams and fears intertwined as physical electricity. I love to wait, because the waiting holds the truth of all life, that it must end and be reformed. One confesses by waiting the terrible shining awe of cellular majesty that all must end. Living is waiting and patience our angel. So, hope desperately. Love is only truth will allow, and remember to turn your face to the sun when it is time to let go. Hope, I wish, for you. And this is my second one. It's called my face and hands. What can my face and my hands accomplish in the face of such reckless violence? Halfway across the world, bombs I'll never hear, filicide I'll never witness, souls I'll never know. There are dead poets and dreamers, and lovers, artists, journalists, hobbyists, and murdered friends, whole bloodlines spilt or atomized in the splitting of a time we call second. How can my face and hands call or cry to bear witness to the last notes played on a breaking heart? The ones whose last moments were spent dreaming atop pillows, gazing from the porch, huddled in a school, increasingly tired and afraid. There will be those whose uncalled fast will come round with a blow, and others by whom the heart's beat will surrender in exposure. It could be me, my siblings, my family, but unluck has placed me far from Rafah, Khan Yunis, Al-Aqsa, Gaza. I cannot reach to them, but I see their faces in my mind when I reach for more bread. Tens of thousands at a scale I cannot comprehend. Death, death, death and wailing. Ya Allah, the martyrs. Souls assail in the shockwaves. I see them, I see them. And I must use my voice to chant and sing and plead for love and justice. I cannot think of 30,000 or 40 in the coming weeks. If I placed one face to each day of my life, I would not see but a third of those lives lost on or beneath the dirt, ascended to their heaven in great glory, propelled by our shame and silence, our fear. I have not yet seen 10,000 days, yet there are many thousands more faces. Who will hold them? Those who purport to speak for us, we've lent them our voice, but they've taken the money and have fled to the tops of the hills in white marble castles, fled in shame and cowardice in service of their own. They have shut their ears to the pleas of the people. We, who still hold a modicum of humanity in our hearts, must rouse from ragged throats the pinnacle of our evolution, which is liberated peace. This must be our call. Lovers of peace, stand with us now. Shout till the mountains round us ring. They are not alone, they cannot be, they never shall. Our family across the wide, deep sea, those faces we have never met. Call to our souls with battered mouths and broken limbs. They are not alone, they cannot be, they never shall. We'll march and place our lives in front as we can. We'll fight with eyes wide open, standing up as we can. We must live for them as we can. The dead of Gaza call shame upon our world. The hate and ignorance that propelled our nation to power is rejected by its youth. We gather the power inherited in our weeping hands and crush that rotten matter, drop it to the ground with our shared blood. This is not a war cry. There is no nobility in war. Suffering is not a virtue. Hate is not a grace. Peace is our true inheritance. And all the white kites flying above Gaza bear witness to this. We must not squander it. What can my face and hands accomplish? I ask myself this. My hands may not hold my brother as his eyes grow dull, as pain fades away. My face may not witness my mother's last kiss, but I'll fight and I'll shout, I promise you this, till the day the last vestige of hate is burned out. Free Palestine, free Palestine, free Palestine.
That was amazing, you guys, and great evening. Thank you all for coming out. I'd like to remind you of next time's Helicon. I'm going completely by memory here, so I'm counting on Star to correct me in real time. It is the Union of Table Scraps at Isaac and Aaron's apartment building, the address and title of which I know not, so look out for the flyer.
Is it going to be block, or is it going to be here? It's going to be here. It'll be here.
It's gonna be here. Okay, so same time, same channel.
Yeah.
2 weeks from today.
22nd.
22nd of February. Have a good, safe trip home, everybody. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.